Good evening, YNG. In tonight's broadcast, we will take a look at the Senate and NIC bills, as well as learn about the history of the Capitol.
We will also be discussing gun control and hearing some thoughts from our delegates.
Finally, we will look for wardrobe malfunctions and go out and talk one-on-one with our delegates.
All this and more on Y News. A meteor struck Russia's Euro regions this morning, leaving almost 1,000 people injured, as well as at least 200 kids. Over 3,000 buildings sustained damages from the aftershock caused by the meteor.
Tonight, we will be going inside the Senate and NIC chambers and learning more about the bills that our delegates are trying to pass to Governor Perry. With more on the story, here's reporter Julian Voska.
Drunk driving accounts for 31% of traffic-related deaths in the United States annually. The National Issues Commission is currently debating whether or not blood testing to derive if a driver is inebriated is constitutional.
My issue is about drunk driving DUI, and it's about how if a driver gets pulled over and refuses a breathalyzer test, the officer does not need to receive a warrant to take a blood sample. I chose this bill because in our government class we went over the Supreme Court case, Missouri versus McNeely, and what happened was an officer took a blood sample without a warrant, and he has been arrested and convicted. I think that it would make drunk driving, it would make it more disallowed. I think more people would be discouraged to drunk drive because they don't have the right to refuse a blood test. And I think it would create a much safer environment for all ages. I mean, I feel like it would have a big effect on friends, family.
Now, in addition to the NIC debating this issue, the Missouri Supreme Court is considering whether demanding a blood test without a warrant is constitutional. We saw that with Missouri versus McNeely. Now, the current law in California and in most United States states that a police officer may search or request a breathalyzer test without a signed warrant from a judge. Now, as we stated earlier, 31% of traffic-related deaths are a result of drunk driving. Wolfie, Italia, back to you.
Gun control fever is sweeping the nation, following the shootings in various cities across the nation. These shootings have raised questions pertaining to our Second Amendment right, as well as its validity in today's context. With more on the story, we shall be talking to delegates about their opinions on this.
I believe there should be no restrictions on guns, or everyone should be able to own a gun because of the Second Amendment of your right to bear arms. It's in the Constitution. I feel like that's our constitutional right.
I believe people only in authority should have the right to have guns, like police officers or people who protect other people, like Secret Service. I believe that would eliminate a lot of the problem that we have nowadays.
It shouldn't be taken lightly. It should be taken more with a grain of salt, and it should be more in favor for all different sides of the spectrum regarding gun control. I know this is such a cliche statement, but it's definitely not the gun that kills people, but it's the gunman.
I am in favor of gun control, but I also feel that both sides have sort of exaggerated the issue. You know, the people who are against gun control are constantly saying it's a Second Amendment right, even though the Second Amendment says well-regulated militia, implying regulation is a thing. But also the other side, the people for gun control, some people, talk about completely banning guns, which I think is also a bit in excess.
Illinois is now one step closer to legalizing same-sex marriage after last night's Senate vote turned out 34-21 in favor of this bill. According to sources, Governor Pat Quinn says he will sign this bill into action as soon as it passes through the House, where its fate is undecided. We sent our reporter Nanette to go out and find a little bit more on the history of our Capitol building.
California is all about democracy, which in Greek literally means the rule of the people. When architects began drafting plans for the new Capitol building, it was only fitting that they implement the democratic antiquity in the building's stylistic roots. Before Sacramento became a state in 1850, cities throughout California competed for the opportunity to host the Capitol. It took 5 years before it actually got to Sacramento in 1854. The original building was completed in 1864. As the government grew, it soon began to exceed the building's capacity. Expansions were carried out through the 1950s, and plumbing and electricity was installed in the 1980s. In 1972, a seismic test revealed that the Capitol could not withstand a major California earthquake. Decisions to demolish and rebuild the proposed Collier Towers were trumped by one vote by the California Senate. Restoration was completed and the building was reopened in 1981, in completion of the Bicentennial Project. Throughout the restoration process, artists made sure to leave signature marks in this historical building.
Well, as we've been talking earlier, there are a lot of artists back in the 1970s that helped restore the building, and so they left little signatures around. And up in a flower bud, up in the ceiling, there's a Mediterranean fruit fly that was just painted in, just representative of a pest that we had had in the early 1970s. Just the artist's signature saying, I was part of the remodel. Similarly, there's some tiles that I've pointed out to you up on the second floor that are backwards, and there's a light fixture out in this hall that's upside down. Just the electrician saying, I was here.
Since its grand opening, the Capitol building has been a prominent symbol of democracy in California. Delegates of youth and government are certainly privileged and extremely lucky to be able to gather in such amazing facilities.
South African sports icon and Paralympic gold medalist Oscar Pistorius has been charged with murder in connection with the fatal shooting of his girlfriend, model Reva Steenkamp.
In the sports world, the Los Angeles Lakers went into the All-Star break on a bad note last night, losing 125-101 to their rivals, the Los Angeles Clippers. The Lakers are currently sit in 10th place with a record of 25-29 this season and trail the San Antonio Spurs by 13.5 games for first place. If the Lakers have any chance of making the playoffs this year, they will need huge second halves from stars center Dwight Howard and guard Kobe Bryant, as well as forward Pau Gasol to come back strong off his injury.
Today, our reporter Haley went out to talk to some delegates about their most embarrassing wardrobe malfunctions during Sacramento.
Sacramento is that time of year. The time of year to dig around in the back of your closets and try to find the fancy clothes you know you must have. And in an emergency, there's always your parents' closets. Once here, though, outfits don't always go as planned. I question people in the streets about their wardrobe malfunctions. My shoes hurt extremely badly. They're Steve Madden, they're 3.5 inches, and all I want to do is just take them off right now, but I can't, so I have to keep them on till all night, so.
The heels I'm wearing are really painful actually, and they're really hard to walk in, and it's been kind of a struggle, but I was pretty dumb and forgot to bring flats. Really big mistake.
One of the major wardrobe malfunctions I have seen is girls wearing the skirts that shouldn't be worn even on homecoming night, and the shoes, the high heels that I don't even know how they fit their feet into.
To the governor's banquet, I'm going to be wearing this dress I got from Express and a heel that's about this big with my crutches. I might just raise them.
Yeah, my nylons, they were loose a little bit, so I ended up pulling at it, and it got made a little hole, but then as I kept walking it got bigger. So I ended up having to spray it with hairspray so the run wouldn't get bigger.
So, from ripped tights to sky-high heels, Sac attire is harder to wear than it looks. Back to you, Wolfie Natalia.
Finally, to close our show this evening, we decided to go out on the street and talk to our delegates one-on-one and get their thoughts of how they're doing in SAC and just what's going on in their lives.
My favorite part of SAC is probably the committees. We have a really cool committee that's girls in my committee. And I think we just all have a really good time just debating all the bills and just coming together with our love for government.
Today we found out that our political party is up 16%, so we're pretty happy about that.
Met some people at the bounce houses, had them come to our little mini dance party. That was probably the highlight so far, but I'm really excited for the governor's ball tonight and the governor's banquet on Sunday and see who wins.
So today I was in my assembly chambers and we were just debating some bills, going back and forth. Pretty heated. I shut down a bill on water purification, but in the end it ended up passing, it's always good when a bill passes. I always get that joy in my deep down,
Broken some ice making memories, having fun, doing good.
Thank you so much for joining us on our show tonight. My name is Natalia Sagamani.
And I'm Wolfie Tash. You stay classy, YNG, and have a great evening.